and welcome to this presentation on EB-1A Extraordinary Ability. My name is Chad Graham from the law firm of Graham Adair. I'm joined as always by my esteemed partner, Sam Adair. Now, before we jump in, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button below. That will enable you to know when we post new content. We're posting new videos all the time. We don't want you to miss anything. And if you want to go the extra mile and make Sam's day, hit that like button as well. All right, Sam. So thinking about 2023, one of the themes that has emerged, I think, in employment-based immigration is creativity. And I think that's come about because we have these congressionally mandated limits on certain things like the H-1B cap and immigrant visa numbers. So those numbers are not increasing, but the demand for those benefits is increasing. And so we're seeing people trying to find creative ways to find the immigration benefits they need for themselves and for members of their family. And one of the things that comes up a lot is EB-1A extraordinary ability. Why is that such a coveted immigration category?
Well, Chad, in a lot of ways, the EB-1A is kind of the perfect category, and there are three big reasons for that. The first is that it does not require an employer to sponsor you for permanent residence through this EB-1A classification. So you don't have to worry about, getting something worked out with your company to pay for this or to support this process. An individual can decide to do this and proceed on their own. So that's the first big advantage. Another advantage is that the EB-1A allows you to bypass the PERM labor certification process through the Department of Labor, which saves you probably at least 2 years on the overall green card process. So it's going to be faster regardless. And then finally, and this is specifically for individuals who were born in India or China, the backlogs in the EB-1A classification are significantly better than they are in other preference categories. So for China, for example, going through EB-1 versus EB-2 would end up saving you about 2.5 years off the overall wait for a green card. And if you were born in India, that is even better. You're going to save at least a decade of waiting to get your green card if you're eligible to go through the EB-1A.
Fantastic. Well, now that you've rolled out the benefit of EB-1A, which is great to understand, help us understand how somebody actually qualifies for EB-1A.
Well, unfortunately, this is kind of where reality rears its ugly head. The qualifications or requirements for EB-1A are very high. And that's part of the reason why it's such an underutilized category, I guess I could say. The USCIS is looking for individuals who are recognized internationally as being at the very top of their field. And the example that's always given is somebody who's won a Nobel Prize or a field prize in mathematics or something like that. These groups where only a handful of people have ever been granted those awards. The good news is that the USCIS does recognize that there are others who are outstanding in their fields, who have extraordinary ability. And so they've given us 8 criteria out of which an individual has to demonstrate they meet 3 in order to be eligible for the EB-1A classification. So the first of those is that an individual has made original contributions to their field. The second is that they have publications and significant citations, typically in peer-reviewed journals, that demonstrate, the value of the work that an individual has done. Another thing that they look for are articles that have been written by others about the work that the individual has done. Evidence that you've served as a judge or the reviewer of the work of others can also be one of the criterion. Awards in your field, national or international awards, can help demonstrate that you meet the requirements. Memberships in organizations that require significant achievements of its members will also help. And then the last 2 are employment with organizations with distinguished reputations, and finally, high remuneration. If you get paid a really high salary compared to others in your field, that can also help to demonstrate your extraordinary ability.
Awesome. Thanks for walking us through that. Now, there's a lot there. And so typically the people we see are people who have graduated with a PhD, they're scientists or researchers, sometimes in the technology or engineering fields. But to help people understand a little bit, let's talk about some of the people that maybe don't always think about as qualifying for EB-1A who do qualify. Let's think about someone with a business background, and let's say they have an MBA. They don't have a lot of publications, they don't have a patent in their name, but they have some significant accomplishments within the business realm. How does someone like that qualify for EB-1A?
For some people who don't work in a field where they're expected to publish and have lots of citations to their work, What we're going to do is really take a holistic look at that person's resume and help them identify some areas where, they may meet these criteria. So for like somebody who's coming with a business background, maybe they have an MBA and they've had some significant accomplishments, we're going to look for things like employment with organizations that have a distinguished reputation, high remuneration, and awards or memberships in organizations that would require significant achievements. One of the other things that we'll often see are, when somebody gets to that level in their career, there will have been articles that have been written about the work that they're doing, or maybe an organization that they lead. And those could be in, newspapers of general circulation, magazines, important trade journals or publications, things like that, to really help show that somebody has a really strong reputation as being a leader in their field.
Excellent. So then let's talk about another case study that we see a lot of times. And this is the person who's sort of new, let's say. They've just graduated with their PhD. They are a researcher or a scientist, but at this point, they only have 3 or 4 publications, maybe a handful of citations. They maybe do some peer review work, but they haven't won any major awards. They don't have a patent in their name. They haven't written a book chapter or anything major like that. So someone like that would be sort of a fringe case. Is it worth someone like that trying to stretch and fit their way into the EB-1A category, or should they wait a little while?
That's a great question. And I think that, it's really important to take this on sort of a case by case basis and assess each case, based on all the factors around it. So, for example, if somebody is coming from a country or they're born in a country that is not India or China right now, it may make sense for that individual to look at a national interest waiver application or an NIW case, which would still allow them to bypass the perm labor certification process. And if they're not from India or China, it'll still give them a really good priority date so that they're going to be able to move very quickly through the green card process. Now, it doesn't necessarily have like the high prestige, although I don't know where you brag about being an EB-1A, maybe at cocktail parties that I don't get invited to, but it's going to get you to the green card just as quickly as the EB-1A application. But if I'm an individual who was born in India or China, it may make sense for me to take a look at whether or not I want to really work on getting some additional publications out there. If I have some research that's in the works that I'm going to be publishing on soon, I may want to hold off for a year or two and see where I'm at in terms of potentially qualifying for the EB-1A, because that's still going to save me a lot of time down the road, 10, 12 years potentially, depending on what the wait times are for a green card. So for some people, it may make sense to really try to continue to push forward and build their reputations internationally. Whereas for others, they may be able to, move quickly through the green card process without doing some of that additional work.
And I would say that's really one of the keys here, is to have an attorney that you're working with that can provide you a customized solution tailored to your situation. And this is where I do a plug for the law firm. We would love the opportunity to work with you. We encourage you to reach out to us at info@grahamadair.com. Our contact information is also in the video description below. We file these cases all the time. We know what USCIS is looking for, and we do provide that customized, tailored solution to your situation. So reach out to us. We would love to help you see if you qualify or help you understand what else you might need to do to qualify. With that, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that yet, so you'll be notified on our next video. If you want to go the extra mile, hit that like button. Thanks for joining us for this discussion on EB-1A, extraordinary ability. See you next time.